being a Marvel fan and having to live through and experience Marvel's Phase 4 and 5 is probably one of the worst experiences I have ever had in my entire life, because I was just witnessing Marvel butchering their goodwill with the fans. They were butchering their characters, they were butchering their stories, they were butchering their direction that they had for these two phases. And in my honest opinion, even though we did have some good projects throughout these two phases, like Loki, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man No Way Home, for the most part, even Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was pretty good, and also Daredevil Born Again, even though it wasn't the most breathtaking show imaginable and it wasn't really a good successor to the original Daredevil Netflix series, Daredevil Born Again was pretty good for the most part as well. And we also had some good to decent projects from Phase 4 and 5, like Wakanda Forever and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Then we now had the peakest time in Marvel's Phase 4 and 5, and that is when we witnessed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In my honest opinion, even though Deadpool and Wolverine, when you rewatch it, it's not really that great and it's not really that funny and it's not really that captivating as it was last year, but we all can't deny that Deadpool and Wolverine was a massive hit in the box office. And honestly, man, Phase 4 and 5 was a very depressing time, man, because we had stinkers, we had disgusting projects that were shitted out, and these executives, these producers, these directors at Marvel, at the MCU, and at Disney, they were just pooping these disgusting projects into the toilet. They didn't even wipe, and they just flushed it down the drain, and they expected the fans to love it and to embrace the shit that they are delivering us, man, because we had to witness Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, Thor Love and Thunder, She-Hulk. We had to witness some mid projects like Moon Knight. In my honest opinion, it was mid. Hawkeye was mid. Eternals was mid. What If season 1 was pretty good, but then season 2 and 3 were just ass, in my honest opinion. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was mid. WandaVision was pretty good, don't get me wrong, it was a pretty good project, but then you now turn around and then you now do a complete 180 from WandaVision's quality to now having to witness and to look down the barrel of a shit loaded gun. And this shit loaded gun is loaded with Secret Invasion, because Secret Invasion is the lowest point of Phase 4 and 5. The Unite had the Marvels was ass, and the last two projects of Phase 4 and 5 that were total ass, and that is Captain America Brave New World and Ironheart, man. Those last two projects were so ass, in my honest opinion. Then you now had the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts, I do believe, is the beginning of Phase 6 or the end of Phase 5, but Thunderbolts was pretty peak, in my honest opinion. But now we are officially in Marvel's Phase 6, and in my honest opinion, it has started with a banger, because Fantastic Four First Steps, in my honest opinion, is peak. I can't lie to you, bro. In the good month of July, we are eating good, we are feasting, we are having a celebration, we are actually dancing, we are having fun, we are mingling, we are just having good vibes all around, because both DC and Marvel dropped two bangers back to back, Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps. And in my honest opinion, I'm not going to say which movie is better than the other, because that is weird. I'm not going to try to put two great legends together, but we can actually bask in this glory, we can bask in this era or this renaissance of superhero movies actually embracing the comics, because I can't even lie to you, bro. Fantastic Four First Steps actually felt like I was reading a Fantastic Four comic, because this movie has a lot of scenes in space. The way that their wormholes look when we were witnessing Silver Surfer chasing the Fantastic Four through the wormholes, because the Fantastic Four were fleeing Galactus and Silver Surfer from Galactus's base called Tattoo. We were witnessing the wormholes, and in my honest opinion, the CGI team, they cooked with this scene. And even though some scenes actually looked a little bit off with the CGI, but these space scenes, they really cooked. It felt like I was actually inside their ship. It felt like I was actually being chased by Silver Surfer herself. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, I think July is the month of black holes, because we saw Superman. He was showcasing his real peak strength by using his super breath to save Crypto, Metamorpho, and to save himself from being pulled and sucked into a black hole. They saved themselves from being spaghettified, man. And we also witnessed this with Fantastic Four First Steps, because they actually showcased a black hole. It seems like July is celebrating black holes for some reason, but hey, I'm all for it. I love it because it's showing that the comic book industry is finally being embraced, man, because we see Silver Surfer, right? She's trying to grab the Fantastic Four because Galactus wants something from the Fantastic Four. I'll get to that later, but as Silver Surfer, she's trying to grab the ship. She's actually close. Reed, he thinks of a plan, and this plan is so daring. This plan is so dangerous. This plan, in my honest opinion, could have killed the Fantastic Four, but Reed, he is so smart, and even though he was unsure of himself throughout this movie, he was sure at this moment that he is going to do whatever it takes to save the entire crew from Galactus's grip and from Silver Surfer's grip, because when they were going into the black hole, they kind of juked Silver Surfer because she was going into labor. Her baby was coming out, so simultaneously as her baby was coming out, she used her powers to cloak the entire ship from Silver Surfer's vision. So when that happens, Silver Surfer is too late to escape the pull from the black hole. So temporarily, Silver Surfer was actually sidelined in the movie, because I thought that she got spaghettified and killed inside this black hole. But Silver Surfer in this movie is really strong. In my opinion, this is a feat of strength because she survived this black hole. And to be honest with you, this black hole isn't really a black hole per se. I think Reed explained it like it's similar to a black hole, but still this star that has this gigantic enormous power that can basically spaghettify you the same way as a black hole. Silver Surfer escaped this, so we're seeing Superman and Silver Surfer are showing that they both can withstand the pull of a black hole, and they can basically survive the pull of a black hole. But I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro, that's not the only example that this movie is very comic accurate or comic inspired, because this movie's theme is based in the 60s. I love that it was based in the 60s because it reminds me of Justice League The New Frontier and The Incredibles, and I really like when superhero universes are trying to base themselves in the past, like in the 60s or the 70s. I like it, in my honest opinion. And since this is not the MCU 616, this is a different universe, I actually like that they went all in the 1960s aesthetic. But let me get to the next example as to how this movie is very comic inspired, and that next example is Galactus, bro, because the aforementioned scene when I just mentioned how the Fantastic Four escaped the Silver Surfer through those wormholes, well, the Fantastic Four, they were sent to Galactus's tattoo, and when they were sent there, they were trying to negotiate with Galactus so that Galactus would not destroy Earth. They wanted to preserve and protect Earth, and they were trying to negotiate verbally, but Galactus was not hearing that, and Galactus, he now sensed the baby inside of Sue Storm. Sue Storm was pregnant at this time, and we all know the son of Sue Storm and Reed Richards, and the son of both of them is Franklin Richards, one of the most overpowered characters in history. So Galactus, he's noticing Franklin Richards' power, and his power is so enormous, and it's so convenient for Galactus because Galactus, he thinks of a plan. He wants to transfer his powers into Franklin Richards so that Galactus can finally stop being hungry, and Galactus can finally stop feeding on worlds so that he can remove his burden and latch it onto another. So Galactus really wants to get out of this cycle, but he sees the only way out is Franklin Richards, and of course the Fantastic Four completely disagree with what Galactus wants. They will never trade Franklin Richards or anyone for Galactus, even if it means putting Earth at risk. So Galactus, bro, even though the colors of his costume are muted, this Galactus looks exactly like Marvel Ultimate Alliance's Galactus, bro. And this Galactus actually moved. He walked, he talked, he breathed, he had thoughts, he was physical, he wasn't tangible, he wasn't a complete giant cloud of smoke like we saw in the 2000s Fox franchise, man. That Galactus was so ass. Thank God that Marvel actually corrected a wrong that they did in the past. So thank God that Galactus felt like he was kind of ripped out of a comic book panel, because Galactus, bro, this nigga was gigantic. And Fantastic Four, they go back to Earth. The entire planet is in peril. They want to know what's happening. They want to know what to do next. They want to know how are they going to survive this encounter with Galactus. So the Fantastic Four, they create these giant like structures that can harness this type of energy that is capable of teleporting the entire planet to a different solar system. So that's their plan. But Galactus, he touches down too soon, because he sends the Silver Surfer to destroy all of these gigantic structures. But as she was destroying these structures, we see Johnny Storm. Remember, this nigga in the comics, if you know Johnny Storm, you know that this nigga cannot keep his dick in his pants, bro. This nigga has a lot of relationships, so he is actually kind of falling for Silver Surfer. But they had a moment before where Silver Surfer was speaking to Johnny in her language, so Johnny now uses opportunity to tell Silver Surfer, what you're doing is wrong. I understand that he came for your planet as well, and you had to offer yourself in order to save your planet, but you have to help us in this situation. But Silver Surfer, at first she declined the offer, but later she will come through. But now let's talk about Galactus. This is a comic inspired scene that is actually ripped from the comics, even though there's no particular scene that's ripped from the comics. It's just how this scene looks, and that's Galactus walking through New York City. New York has been abandoned and evacuated by Mole Man. I'll get to Mole Man later, but we see Galactus. He is walking through the streets, destroying buildings. The Fantastic Four have to defeat Galactus in time before Galactus can reach Franklin Richards. And this battle was pretty crazy, man. We were seeing every single member of the Fantastic Four showcasing their abilities, and Sue Storm was an MVP, because when the entire battle was lost, when Galactus, he sees that they were trying to be clever enough to hide Franklin Richards, but he said, wow, you ants are clever. So that he now grabbed Franklin Richards, and Sue Storm, she uses all of her abilities and her powers, and she overloads. But this overload is so necessary because it caused Galactus to tip back, so that now he is in the pathway, he is in the area where it's needed for Galactus to be teleported away from our solar system. And that's exactly what happens. But it's funny to see that when that happens, Galactus nearly comes back, but then Silver Surfer, she has listened to what Johnny has said, she has thought about it, and she came to save the day by knocking Galactus into that solar system. So we're gonna have to see what happens later. But now let me talk about some things that I didn't really like about the movie. And one thing that I did not like about the movie is Mole Man, because I like the actor for Mole Man, but I did not like the costume for Mole Man. Mole Man's costume is too casual, it's too human looking. Mole Man should be having his iconic green cape and his green suit. So I did not like that they actually did that. And another thing that I did not like is that I thought that they would kill Shalabal. Look, I loved Shalabal in this movie. She was a great Silver Surfer, but I was under the impression that this world will die. But I loved Galactus's portrayal, because he did destroy a world before coming to Earth. Not that like I'm mad about this, it's just like I thought my expectations were completely proven wrong, and that's not a bad thing. I kind of like that this universe actually survived, because when we're going to see Battle World, it'll be a good comparison and a good experience to see this 1960s inspired universe where it's already lived in. The Fantastic Four have been active for like 4 years up until this point, so I'm actually kind of excited to see how they're going to mesh with the 616 comics that is kind of based in, you know, 2025. So yeah, that's not really like a bad thing per se. It's just that my expectations was kind of subverted. But that's the end of the video, man. I really liked Fantastic Four First Steps. I think every single character, they played their part well. So yeah, man, and Galactus, he felt like Galactus. That's how it's supposed to be. But this July, we were eating good. We had Superman. Now we had Fantastic Four First Steps, man. I am full. We had a feast. That's in the video. I'm out. Peace.